A mother turns around for 3 seconds. Her baby is gone. Not kidnapped, not wandering off, not hiding behind a tree. The ground has swallowed her. An 18-month-old girl, trapped 22 feet underground, in a pipe so narrow, an adult hand can barely fit. No way to reach her. No way to pull her up. No way to even see her. Just a faint cry, rising from the darkness below. For the next 58 hours, America will stop everything and watch. This is the true story of baby Jessica. October 14, 1987, Midland, Texas, a Wednesday morning. Jessica McClure, 18 months old, pink shirt, white shorts, wispy hair, a toddler's unsteady, wobbly walk. She's playing in her aunt's backyard with other kids from a small daycare, laughing, chasing, doing what toddlers do. Her mother, Sissy, steps inside to answer the phone. Not for minutes, for seconds. When she turns back, Jessica is not there. The other children are standing still, frozen, just pointing at the ground. At an old pipe, sticking up out of the dirt. Sissy runs to it. From somewhere deep below, she hears a sound no mother should ever hear coming from underground. Her baby crying. Jessica. She grabs the phone and dials 911. My baby fell down a well. That pipe wasn't just a pipe. It was an abandoned well shaft drilled in 1947, 8 inches in diameter, 22 feet deep, never sealed, never filled. For 40 years it sat in that yard like a piece of harmless, leftover hardware. Kids played around it, adults mowed past it. Nobody thought twice about it. Until an 18-month-old girl stepped on the opening, and gravity took over. Jessica fell feet first. Her tiny body slid down that narrow steel casing like a cork being pushed into a bottle. 22 feet down, she stopped. Not because she landed on something. Because she got stuck. One leg bent up above her head, the other pointing straight down, arms pinned against her sides, her torso twisted in the dark. She couldn't move up. She couldn't move down. She couldn't even shift her weight. Total darkness, total confinement, Texas heat turning that steel pipe into an oven. And she was only 18 months old. Now rescuers are left with a question that will haunt them for the next 58 hours. How do you pull a baby out of a hole you can't even fit your arm into? First responders arrive within minutes. Police, fire, EMS. They crowd around the pipe. Someone drops a rope down. Others shine flashlights into the opening. The shaft is 8 inches wide, narrower than a dinner plate. A firefighter tries to lower himself in. He gets stuck at the shoulders, not even close. They try loops, hooks, reaching tools, nothing works. And every attempt carries a terrifying risk. Pull the wrong way, and they could tear her skin against the steel walls, or dislodge her and send her sliding deeper, into an even narrower section below. From 22 feet down, they can hear her. Sometimes crying, sometimes quiet. At one point singing. A tiny, muffled version of Winnie the Pooh. Grown men standing around that pipe look at each other and fight back tears. She's alive, she's conscious, she's singing in the dark. But they cannot reach her. So they make a decision that will turn this backyard into the most watched place in America. They're going to dig. The plan sounds simple. Drill a brand new vertical shaft right next to the well, go deeper than where Jessica is stuck, then tunnel sideways until they reach her and pull her to safety. On paper, it's straightforward. In reality, they're about to attempt one of the most difficult small-scale excavations in American history. Because the ground under Midland, Texas, is not soft dirt. It's caliche, shale, rock hardened over millions of years. The same formations that make the Permian Basin perfect for trapping oil are now trapping a child. The first drilling crew arrives with jackhammers and augers designed for softer soil. They start digging. The first hour, 6 inches. Equipment jams, drill bits overheat, the rock barely chips. Jessica has been underground for 6 hours. And they've barely scratched the surface. While drillers fight rock above, doctors are fighting something invisible below. Through the pipe, Rescue teams lower a thin tube. They pump down warm air, oxygen. Later, carefully measured sedatives to ease her pain without putting her fully to sleep, an almost impossible balance with a child they cannot see or monitor directly. But the greatest danger isn't just fear. It isn't just dehydration. It's her leg, the one bent up above her head. In that position, blood flow to her lower right leg is slowly being cut off. Tissue without blood begins to die. Doctors know the term, ischemia. Leave it long enough and it becomes gangrene. They estimate they have maybe 48 to 72 hours before permanent, irreversible damage. Maybe less. The drill bits keep breaking, the rock keeps winning. And the clock inside Jessica's body keeps ticking. By Wednesday evening, news trucks are lining the street. Satellite dishes go up. Cameras are aimed at a single point in the ground. Floodlights turn night into day. This is 1987. CNN is young. Live, continuous rescue coverage is still a new concept. And America has never seen anything like this. Across the country, families sit in front of their TVs watching a hole in the ground. Dinner goes cold. Homework is forgotten. Strangers ask each other in grocery store aisles, have they gotten her out yet? Churches hold prayer vigils. Radio stations are jammed with callers. Toy companies offer to send gifts. Letters, money, teddy bears pour in, addressed simply to baby Jessica, Midland, Texas. For once, the nation isn't watching a war or a scandal. It's watching neighbors try to save a baby. But no amount of cameras can soften rock. And beneath their feet, the situation is getting desperate. By Thursday morning, it's clear. The basic equipment isn't enough. Midland is oil country, and oil country knows how to drill through rock. Companies from across the Permian Basin step up. They bring industrial rigs, water jet cutters, air hammers designed to punch through the same formations that hold oil thousands of feet down. Equipment meant for multi-million-dollar drilling operations is now pointed at a backyard in a quiet neighborhood. Engineers who usually design wells are redesigning their tools to save one child stuck in a well. They adapt, improvise, push harder. But even with industrial power, every foot is a battle. Water and mud must be constantly pumped out. Gas monitors check for dangerous buildups. The shaft is so tight that only 1 or 2 workers can operate at the bottom at any time. Men work in shifts, 4 hours on, 4 off. They come up mud-covered, hands shaking, ears ringing from the hammers. One worker starts experiencing chest pains from the exertion and stress, the beginnings of a heart attack. He's rushed to the hospital. Another man takes his place. Because 22 feet away, through solid rock, a baby is running out of time. Through the first day and night, rescuers keep a microphone lowered down the well. They can hear her, crying, whimpering, and sometimes in between still singing bits of nursery rhymes. That sound, that thin, tiny voice echoing up through steel, is the thread everyone holds onto. As long as they can hear her, she's alive. By late Thursday, the singing stops. The crying fades to whimpers. Then silence. They call her name down the pipe. Nothing. They play sounds, talk to her, beg her to respond. Long, agonizing pauses. Then a faint cough, a small moan. She's still there, but she's fading. Dehydration, exhaustion, possible hypothermia, even with warm air being pumped down. Her body is shutting systems down to survive. They are running out of time. And the parallel shaft still isn't deep enough. By Friday, almost 2 days in, the vertical shaft finally reaches its target depth, about 29 feet, deeper than where Jessica is stuck. Now comes the part no machine can do. The horizontal tunnel. From the bottom of that shaft, they have to dig sideways, about 5 feet, to break through into the original well. You can't send a big drill into that space. It's too cramped, too dangerous. This part requires human beings, on their stomachs, in a tunnel barely 2 feet wide, chipping through rock with hand tools and small pneumatic hammers. Volunteers step forward, miners, oilfield workers, men used to darkness, rock, and tight spaces. They crawl in one at a time, lying on their sides in mud and dust, swinging hammers in a space where they can barely extend an arm. The heat is suffocating, the air is thick, visibility close to zero. Every chunk of rock is passed back by hand, then hauled up the shaft. Progress is measured in inches per hour. And somewhere on the other side of that rock wall, a baby is waiting. As the tunnel inches closer, one critical question looms. When they finally break through, who goes in to get her? The horizontal tunnel is about 2 feet across. The well shaft is 8 inches. The space where they'll meet is barely larger than a human torso. Whoever goes in must be small enough to fit, strong enough to work, calm enough to handle a fragile, injured child by touch in near total darkness. 2 men prepare. Robert O'Donnell, a paramedic trained in emergency extraction. He's been on site from the beginning, hasn't slept, refuses to leave. And Ron Short, a local man with caving and confined space experience. Because of a congenital condition affecting his legs, his upper body is unusually narrow. His shoulders are slim enough to fit where others can't. Both men know what they're volunteering for, crawling into a cramped void underground where, if anything collapses, there's no quick escape. They prepare anyway. Late Friday night, close to the 58th hour. The miners at the tunnel face chip away the last inches of rock. A small hole opens. For the first time in near 3 days, someone looks through the wall and sees her. In the dim beam of a headlamp, mud-covered skin, matted hair, a tiny body twisted in a position no human should be in for 5 minutes, let alone 58 hours. One small foot, swollen and discolored purple, where blood has been cut off. A face streaked with dirt and dried tears. And then her eyes open. She blinks against the light. She's alive. The men at the tunnel face radio up. We can see her, she's alive. At the surface, the words ripple through the crowd like electricity. People grab each other, some drop to their knees. But seeing her and getting her out are 2 very different things. The opening between the tunnel and the well has to be widened, carefully. Too aggressive and the surrounding rock could collapse on her. Too slow and her body might not survive much longer. Robert O'Donnell inches his way through the horizontal tunnel, on his stomach, through mud, into a space barely wider than his chest. He reaches the opening. He slides his hands through. He can touch her. Her body is slick with sweat and grime. She is wedged so tightly, it feels like the earth itself is holding her in place. He works to free her millimeter by millimeter, gently shifting her body, freeing one limb then another, talking to her the entire time, even though she barely responds. There's a moment of resistance. Her body doesn't want to come loose. The angle is wrong. The space is impossibly tight. He adjusts, tries again. One final careful pull. She comes free. He passes her back through the tunnel. Hands reach, receive, lift. October 16, 1987, just after midnight. Something small appears at the top of the rescue shaft. First a boot. Then a leg. Then a tiny girl being lifted from the earth. She's wrapped in a child-sized neck brace and blankets, covered in dirt and blood. Eyes squeezed shut against the light after nearly 3 days in total darkness. One small arm reaches out from the blanket, fingers extended. A photographer captures the image. It will become one of the most iconic photographs in American news history. She's placed on a stretcher, rushed to a waiting ambulance, then flown to Midland Memorial Hospital. At the rescue site, men who have been digging for 3 days straight collapse onto the ground, weeping. Strangers hug. Jessica's family, who have lived on the edge of hope and horror for 58 hours, finally break down. On television screens across America, news anchors who have been calm and composed for 3 days let their voices crack. Baby Jessica is out. She's alive. In the hospital, doctors begin to count the cost. A deep cut across her forehead, down to the bone. It will heal into a permanent scar. Bruising and soft tissue damage across her body. And her right foot, the one pinned above her head, starved of blood for more than 2 days. Gangrene has set in. Surgeons do what they can. In the end, they amputate several toes to save her leg and her life. She spends weeks in the hospital, surgeries, infections, recovery. She's 18 months old, too young to understand, too young to remember. But her body will carry the evidence forever. The cameras leave, the satellite trucks roll away, America moves on to the next story. But the men who crawled into that tunnel don't simply move on. Several rescuers suffer from post-traumatic stress, nightmares, flashbacks, the sound of a child crying underground replaying in their minds. Robert O'Donnell, the paramedic who pulled Jessica free, struggles the most. He becomes publicly known as the man who saved baby Jessica. But that identity becomes a weight he can't set down. The trauma of those hours underground, the sudden fame, and then the silence when it fades, all of it breaks something inside him. In 1995, at just 37 years old, Robert O'Donnell takes his own life. He saved a baby, and the saving consumed him. It's a truth that doesn't fit neatly into a happy ending, but it's a truth that matters. Because the people who go into the dark places to bring others back don't always come back whole themselves. Jessica McClure grows up shielded from the media storm. She goes to school in Texas, makes friends, lives in most ways an ordinary life. A faint white scar on her forehead, a slightly different walk from the partial amputation, small reminders of a day she doesn't remember. At 25, she gains access to the trust funds set up from donations after her rescue. She uses the money to buy a modest home. She marries, becomes a mother herself. In rare interviews, she's careful to acknowledge the rescuers, to thank them, to say she considers herself fortunate, not defined by a well. The world still calls her Baby Jessica. She calls herself Jessica McClure Morales, a grown woman who happens to carry a toddler's story as part of her life, not the whole of it. A few seconds of inattention, normal, human, forgivable, triggered a crisis that took 58 hours and hundreds of people to resolve. A backyard that looked safe hit a 40-year-old danger no one had bothered to fix. No single person saved Jessica. It took drillers, miners, paramedics, engineers, volunteers, and an entire community refusing to stop. The rescue wasn't one act of heroism. It was hundreds of small acts stacked together, hour after hour, through exhaustion, fear, broken equipment, and rock that wouldn't give. Live television showed us something rare. A nation united not by politics or war, but by the simple, overwhelming desire to see one small child come home. It also showed us the cost. That rescuers carry wounds we don't see. That fame after trauma is its own kind of trap. That the people who go underground for us deserve more than a headline and a handshake. In the end, what held millions of people transfixed for 58 hours wasn't spectacle. It was the sight of ordinary people, exhausted, muddy, scared, refusing to stop digging. Because there was a child in the ground. And that was enough. If this story moved you, if it made you think differently about the ground under your feet, or about the people who go into the dark to bring others back, hit that like button. It helps this channel reach more people who care about true survival stories. And if you want more real stories of endurance, rescue, and survival, subscribe. There are many more waiting to be told.